There are certain phrases, sentences, moments in time that inexplicably situate themselves deep inside our brains for eternity. They remain strong, while many other life lessons, memories, Excel formulas, and witty responses to insults that we came up with too late and will never remember in the appropriate scenario again evaporate from our amygdalas. Or our hippocampuses. I'm not sure, I'm not a neurologist, but these moments, these lessons, they stay with us. They, as the kids might say, alter our brain chemistry. These are their stories. This isn't gonna be like, oh my god, you're really close. This isn't gonna be like Law & Order. It's just, that sound fit really well at the end of that, didn't it? You know, it felt right. Wrong for the rest of the video, but very right for the first 20 seconds. So, okay, I look terrible, so I'm gonna change, so you don't have to look at this anymore. It's gonna get better. This is gonna get better from here, okay? I can do better for you. Just give me a minute. So I just got back from a little weekend getaway, and on that getaway, there was a sunroom. And the rule is that if you have access to a sunroom that lets in the peacefulness of nature without letting in the annoyance of bugs, then you have to sit in it with a cup of tea and think deeply about life. So because I'm a rule follower, I did just that. And I was thinking about lessons that I've learned in my life that have really stuck with me and changed my mindset in a way that has literally altered my brain chemistry. Well, not literally, I don't think I can claim it's literal. I actually don't know how brain chemistry works, but they have changed my way of thinking in a permanent way, and I think about them frequently, and I remember them better than I remember what I ate for breakfast this morning, which that's actually a really bad example because I eat the same thing for breakfast every single morning, so I inherently know what I ate for breakfast. I remember that. But I remember them better than I remember why I've walked into a room, because I pretty much never know why I'm in a room. I start out with a purpose. I know why I'm going to the room. It's just between the first room and the second room, I forget the purpose of going to the second room, so I get there and I don't know why I'm there, and I just have to let the room tell me why I'm there. Kind of got to figure it out along the way. Where was I? Life lessons that have literally, but for legal purposes, not literally, altered my brain chemistry. That is what I was thinking about in the sunroom, and that is what I am making this series about. I was actually gonna make it just one single video at first, but then as I was writing my ideas down, I realized that it would be like an extremely long video. And if there's anything that I've learned from modern streaming services, it's that people will not watch a 4-hour movie, but they will watch 4 1-hour episodes of a TV show back to back. So that's why I'm making this a series, and welcome to the first episode of it. It's not gonna be an hour long. It's gonna be like 15 to 20 minutes. But each episode will be a deep dive into a lesson I've learned and stored deep in my thinking cabinet. Some of these lessons I learned a very long time ago. Some of them I learned much more recently, as recent as a couple months ago. But all of them have fundamentally shifted my view on life and how I approach it. And as a disclaimer, I'm 29 years old. I have not lived a lot of life. So what is it that qualifies me to be sharing wisdom with you today? Literally nothing, except for the fact that I am human and you are human, and we are both living life for the first time. And I think at the very least, we can share with each other what we've learned, what has helped us, in the hope that it will help somebody else too. All right, roll the tape, metaphorically, because it's 2025, we don't have tapes. From a young age, I knew I wanted to live an extraordinary life. And at the time, what I defined as an extraordinary life was living in a big city, wearing trendy clothes, working for a cool company, and doing different and exciting things. Essentially, being impressive to other people. Listen, 14-year-old me was kind of shallow, okay? Her frontal lobe wasn't fully developed yet, so give her a break. Now, what was the source of this definition? Was it my childhood experiences? Was it in my DNA? Was it the forces of the external world? Or was it simply reading too much 17 magazine? I don't know, but I do know that I wanted to do extraordinary things because I thought it would lead to an extraordinary life. But I was wrong. I found that living an extraordinary life is often not defined by where you live, what you wear, where you work, or the things you do. Instead, it's defined by whether or not you have the ability to see the extraordinary in the ordinary. Allow me to explain. When I was a kid growing up in a small town in Michigan, I decided that I wanted to go to college in New York City and work at a magazine and be freaking cool. And once I did those things, I thought I would experience immense happiness, that I would be living an extraordinary life. But that's not what happened. Obviously, because otherwise this would be a very short, very stupid video. But I did move to New York, and I did what I viewed as extraordinary things, but I wasn't bursting with joy, and I couldn't quite figure out why. But looking back on it, it fundamentally came down to this. Before I went to New York, I was already living an extraordinary life. I just didn't realize it, and I wouldn't realize it for years. So when did the nuggets of realization begin? Well, when I was in college, I was introduced to a little show called The Office. And I would watch The Office in my little dorm room on the Upper East Side, the neighborhood I had longed to be in ever since I watched another little show called Gossip Girl back when my brain was much more naive and gullible. And like I said, shallow. But while sitting in my quote dream neighborhood, I found myself enamored by the characters in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I loved The Office, and 18-year-old me would have told you she loved it because it was funny. Partly because it was, and partly because the guy she was seeing at the time thought it was funny. 18-year-old me was not great at forming her own opinions yet, but she'll get there. But as the years went on and I proceeded to watch and rewatch all 9 seasons, I realized that my love for this show didn't solely stem from the fact that it was funny. It stemmed from the fact that it depicted what I was unknowingly seeking. An extraordinarily ordinary life. Now, were the characters of The Office doing particularly extraordinary things? No, they were selling paper in Scranton, Pennsylvania. But they turned that life into something extraordinary. Well, the writers did, at least. Okay, I know The Office isn't like an actual documentary. This was not a show about people who sell paper. This was a show about people who sell paper. People who are capable of making the mundane special. Through turning a day at a paper company into the Office Olympics, through making medals out of yogurt caps, through collectively waiting for the DVD logo to hit the corner of the screen, through romanticizing the rooftop of a suburban office building, through waiting all year for the perfect soft pretzel. And listen, I know these are scripted moments, and that real life is realistically more mundane, monotonous, and frustrating. But amidst the mundane exists these little, very real moments that we can either disregard as irrelevant or choose to embrace and recognize that together, all of these ordinary moments create something extraordinary. And that is what I learned from The Office. And also the word Perfektenschlag, which is not a real word, but it's fun to say. At this point, I realized my life in Michigan was much more extraordinary than I thought. See, when I was 14, we moved from a very small town in Michigan to a slightly less small town in Michigan. And we moved because in the smaller town, I struggled with bullying and mean girls. Not the excellent 2004 film written by Tina Fey, but like literal mean girls. And I think that actually might have been where my obsession with doing extraordinary things started, because I wanted to prove to everyone who doubted me and was mean to me that I was actually freaking awesome. But at the time, I really just wanted friends. So when my dad was laid off in the 2008 recession, my family took that opportunity to move. And for the first time in my 14 years, I had a friend group, and I was involved in extracurriculars that I didn't dread going to, and I would laugh and form connections with people over the most mundane, seemingly meaningless things. I was happy because my life was ordinary. But because my life still didn't meet my definition of an extraordinary life, I thought, well, my life still must not be extraordinary. It must not mean anything. And that's why I was still stuck on this idea of going to New York City. I worked, I saved, I applied for every scholarship, I took out my student loans, and I made it to my dream city. I should have felt accomplished. But now I know why I didn't. When I got there, I was in a cool place, doing cool things, surrounded by people who, yes, wanted to do extraordinary things, but many of them, like me at the time, seemed to still not have the ability to recognize the extraordinary within the ordinary. And it showed in the way they carried themselves, how they treated people, and what they laughed at, and what they viewed as important. And I was confused because I didn't see myself in them. I didn't connect with them, and it made me think, perhaps I wasn't cut out to be extraordinary. But then I had an epiphany while studying abroad in London. Studying abroad was one of the extraordinary things I wanted to accomplish. But when I got there, it wasn't being in London that made the experience extraordinary, the same way being in New York didn't make my college experience extraordinary. It was the people I spent time with. Because I ended up sharing a flat with 5 ordinary people from different parts of the world who were clearly capable of doing what I had yet to find at my fashion school in New York City. And that was embracing the mundane, finding the fun and the joy in the ordinary. And did we do some extraordinary things? See some extraordinary places? Absolutely. But that wasn't the source of my happiness during that time. The source of my happiness was making dinner with my flatmates in our very, very gray kitchen. It was getting lost in Budapest at night with 2 weeks worth of clothing on our backs. It was sharing a hostel room with a strange older woman who would sleep with her feet up in the air, creating a ghost-like silhouette with her sheets that would cause panic in the middle of the night. And I realized that living an extraordinary life had nothing to do with where I lived, what my job was, or what I wore. It had everything to do with who I surrounded myself with and my ability to appreciate the most mundane parts of life. So by the time I had to leave London, I knew I would ultimately be leaving New York. And a few months later, I moved to Chicago. I wanted to get back to my Midwest roots, be closer to family, but still be in a city, because despite not thriving in New York, I did love how many things there were to do there, and the fact that I could walk or take a train almost anywhere, and the ease at which I could get food in the middle of the night. So Chicago was my new home. I got a job there after 97 applications, a boring corporate human resources job at a small company with a funny name that I had never heard of. And finally, after years of searching for an extraordinary life by way of doing extraordinary things in extraordinary places, I found an extraordinary life nestled right in between all the ordinary I had been running from. I found it in the excitement of finding a quiet spot in the park on a sunny day, in the bliss of a long walk after a hard day at work, in the revitalizing chill that brings you back to life when your body hits the water of Lake Michigan. I found it in the sardine-packed train commutes in the polar vortex mornings where the snot would freeze to the inside of my nose. I found it in the songs my friends and I would sing at karaoke, in the dramatic late-night conversations, in the way my friend broke her foot while wall twerking during a 4-person at-home dance session. I found it in the dozens of bad dates I went on, in the retrospectively stupid heartbreaks, and in the elaborate couch pillow forts made on a rainy day. I loved the ordinary, and I loved sharing it with people who knew how to make it extraordinary. And while I still have goals and ambitions and things I would like to accomplish, extraordinary things I would like to do, I know that my happiness and my value aren't dependent on those things. I already have everything I need for an extraordinary life. To be honest, I think most people do. Yes, we'll face hardships and struggles and devastation, and some will face more than others. But I've learned there's much more joy and beauty than we think in our fundamentally boring surroundings. It's easy to lose sight of in a world that tells us our life is bland compared to Sarah's or Hannah's on the internet. A world that tells us the extraordinary is always out of reach, that our happiness waits for us in that one promotion, that one cool outfit, that one luxurious vacation, that one perfect person. But if you stop searching for a minute, stop comparing, and look around at what's in front of you, your ordinary, your life that the world has maybe convinced you isn't good enough the way that it convinced me, I think you'll find there's jokes to be made, bits to be done, stories to share, games to play, connections to be made, and that is what allows us to lead extraordinary lives, no matter where we live, what we own, or what we do. The extraordinary is found right in between the ordinary, if you just look closely enough to see the extra. Hey, quick logistical thing before you leave. If you could just give this a thumbs up and subscribe if you liked it, that would be great. That would let the YouTube minions know that you enjoyed it, and then they'll be nicer to me. And then if you want to see more videos from me, then you can check out my Patreon. Oh, on a less logistical note, also, I hope you enjoyed this. And thanks for watching. And if you did enjoy it, please let me know, because if I don't get enough external validation, then I won't be able to find the willpower in myself to make future episodes. So anyways, I look forward to hearing what you think. Unless you hate it, then I don't really look forward to hearing what you think, and I will anxiously avoid your feedback. So All right, I'll see you in the next video.